All right, 20 real estate questions today. We are in the classroom, but this isn't your traditional real estate question video. We are in this together and we are going to study together. If you're on your real estate journey too, like me, and you want more real estate questions, real estate vocab terms, real estate concepts, subscribe to the channel. I'm going through it all. I'm in the same boat as you guys, so we're all going to study together and we're all going to pass together. Okay, so the way this is going to work, we have 20 questions set up on Colibri. Speaking of Colibri, if you want to follow along and get your own exam prep and take these questions with me, there is an affiliate link down below. This is the best way to support the channel. So let's jump right into it. Question 1, when the seller asks the broker to keep a latent defect to themselves, the broker refuses. What code contains the ethical guideline for the broker? All right, let's see what a latent defect is. A defect that is not visible or apparent. A hidden defect that would not be discovered in a reasonably thorough inspection of property. So which is the NRA Code of Ethics? When the seller asks the broker to keep a latent defect to themselves, the broker refuses. What code contains the ethical guidelines for the broker? Probably this NAR Code of Ethics. Remember, guys, I'm taking this with you. I've never seen these questions. If you guys already know the answer, you want to skip to the next question, go ahead. If you guys need more time on the question, go ahead and pause it. I'm going to check the answer. Incorrect. Okay. Business and Professions Code. Correct. So I'm 0 for 1. The question rationale. A broker would rely on the Business and Professions Code of Ethics. Oh, a broker. Okay. Question number 2. Where would one file a complaint based on the Rumford Act? NAACP, the Department of Fair Employment and Housing, ECOA, OEO. Rumford Act. I'm going to go Fair Employment and Housing. Check answer. Correct. Nice. 1 for 2. Question rationale. A complaint based on the Rumford Act can be filed with the Department of Fair Employment and Housing. Question number 3. Statements not known to be untrue at the time they are made are called fraudulent misrepresentation, actual fraud, negligent misrepresentation, innocent misrepresentation. Okay, statements not known to be untrue at the time they are made are called not known to be untrue. I want to say innocent misrepresentation. Correct. Innocent misrepresentations are statements not known to be untrue at the time they are made. An agent is usually not liable, although the buyer or seller could cancel a contract over it. Question number 4. While alone at the office, an unlicensed assistant answers the phone. The caller is a client of the broker who needs to reach his agent to withdraw an offer. What can the assistant do regarding this call? Offer to forward the caller to the agent's voicemail. Offer to convey the intent to withdraw to the listing agent. Offer to convey the intent to withdraw to the seller. Offer to negotiate a better offer. I don't think unlicensed assistant can do anything. So I would say offer to forward the caller to the agent's voicemail. I don't think they want to do anything real estate related. Correct. Nice. I think I'm 3 for 4 right now. Question rationale. Even if the caller had instructed the assistant to convey the intent to withdraw, doing so would require a license. Yeah. You should get your license before you start doing anything real estate related. And I'm doing this. I say this right now as unlicensed real estate person, but I am not selling any real estate. I'm not, just as a full disclosure, I'm not doing anything real estate related. Just this is only educational purposes to pass the test and get your license. Question number 5. The agency of the federal government which administers fair housing law is Fair Housing Law, AIRAEA, VA, NORELO, and HUD. I want to say HUD. This I feel like this is an easy one that I'm going to get wrong. Oh, correct. Okay. The Office of Equal Housing Opportunity is Division of HUD, Housing and Urban Development. This department is in charge of enforcing and administrating fair housing laws. All right. We're 4 for 5, guys. Next question. Question number 6. What act outlines rules for filing subdivision maps to create subdivisions? Subdivision Map Act. Variance. Non-conforming use. Subdivision. Which act? This is the only one that has act, and it has subdivision. So we're going to go with Subdivision Map Act. Correct. The Subdivision Map Act outlines rules for filing subdivision maps. Question number 7. An agent is required to disclose a death in the home if it occurred within 1 year, 4 years, 3 years, or 2 years. I believe it's 2 years. We could be wrong again. Incorrect. 3 years. Question rationale. California requires the disclosure of any death in the home within the last 3 years. All right. That's just something you got to remember. The numbers. 3 years. Question number 8. 2 brokers get together at a breakfast meeting and decide they will each agree to work in a certain geographical areas of town. Which of the following statutes have been violated? Federal Housing Antitrust Law, Equal Credit Opportunity Act, Civil Rights Law, Sherman Antitrust Act. It's got to be one of these antitrust, I think. I think that one. Federal Housing Antitrust Law. Oh, okay. The correct answer was Sherman Antitrust Act. Question rationale. The Sherman Antitrust Act prohibits monopolization, price fixing, and market fixing would be 2 examples of the Sherman Antitrust Act. So price fixing, geography, and market fixing. Question number 9. When a person passes the state license exam, how long do they have to apply for a license? 1 month, 1 year, 1 week, 6 months. I want to say it's 1 year or 6 months. We'll go for the biggest number, 1 year. Correct. When a person passes the exam, they have 1 year to apply for a license. Question 10. Who appoints the Real Estate Advisory Commission? Public election, Director of Commerce, the Real Estate Commissioner, the Governor. I want to say it's the Governor, or I don't think it's public election. I'm going to go with the Governor. Incorrect. The Real Estate Commissioner. Okay, so it wasn't an election. The answer is the Real Estate Commissioner appoints the Real Estate Advisory Commission. The Governor appoints the Real Estate Commissioner, okay, who then appoints the Real Estate Advisory Commission. The commission consists of 6 brokers and 4 members of the public, so 10 people total. So I was close. The Governor appoints the Commissioner, and the Commissioner appoints the Commission. Okay, that makes sense. Question number 11. When a buyer asks an agent which form of co-ownership they and their spouse should take, the agent should recommend tenancy by the entirety, not make a recommendation but advise seeking legal advice, recommend joint in survivorship since it avoids probate, recommend a tenancy in common. When a buyer asks an agent which form of co-ownership they and their spouse should take, the agent should... I don't think the agent should recommend anything. Probably tenancy in common, but I'm going to go with no. Correct. The sales agent should not make any recommendations because they would be committing the unauthorized practice of law. They should seek legal advice. Remember, you're a real estate agent and you're not a lawyer. So any questions with law and, divorce and spouses and all that stuff, that's not for you. Question number 12. Which act prohibits discrimination by businesses? Discrimination is treating people unequally because of their race, religion, sex, national origin, age, or some other characteristic of a protected class in violation of civil rights laws. The Holden Act, the Rumford Act, the Unruh Act, Civil Rights Act, the Class Act. I think it's Rumford or Holden. We'll see. Oh, okay. I should have guessed the Civil Rights. The Unruh Civil Rights Act prohibits discrimination by businesses. All right, that's just, you got to get these acts. You got to learn these acts. Question number 13. Seller S listed with broker L sells their home to a buyer for $200,000. Buyer B is represented by their own buyer's agent. An earnest money check for $2,000 is attached to the contract. After both parties have fully executed the contract, broker L deposits the check into their escrow account per the contract instructions. 2 days later, L receives the notice that the check is being returned for insufficient funds. What should L do first? All right, broker L sells their home to buyer B. So we have contact B immediately to get the check covered, contact the buyer's agent immediately to get a new check, contact S immediately and notify them of the bad check, cover the check out of their own funds, and then contact B to repay them. All right, we don't want to do that one. We're not covering anything out of our own funds. What should L do first? Probably contact B immediately. If B doesn't have the funds, I'm going to say B. No? Okay. Contact S immediately and immediately notify them of the bad check. Oh, S is the seller. Okay. listed with broker L, sells their home. B is the buyer. Buyer B by the buyer's agent and earns money check 2000. So L is the broker. They need to contact the seller to tell them the buyer check bounced. Okay, although L will probably need to contact several people, the first they should be called is their client. Seller S, they owe the client the duty of full disclosure. A bad check could possibly nullify the transaction. All right, that was a big one. That was a tough one for me. But it's just a lot of, maybe names would have been better than letters. While walking through a home, question 14. While walking through a home, a buyer notices a large crack in the wall. The seller does not disclose this item on any property disclosure statement. After the sale is completed, the buyer sues the seller for the necessary repairs of the crack in the wall. Okay, the seller is liable to make the repairs. A seller is never liable for repair defects after the closing. The buyer has no claim under the doctrine of caveat emptor. The seller is liable for failing to note the crack on the applicable property disclosure form. While walking through the home, a buyer notices a large crack in the wall. The seller does not disclose this item on any project. After the sale is completed, the buyer sues the seller. I don't think the seller has any. See, the seller is never liable for repair defects after the closing, but I think it's the buyer has no claim under the doctrine of caveat emptor because you missed it. You should have got an inspection. Yeah, okay. Under the doctrine of caveat emptor, let the buyer beware. The buyer must examine goods or property and buy at his own risk. Any patent defect does not need to be closed by the seller as it is readily viewable by the buyer, and the buyer takes the property subject to the defect. A latent defect needs to be disclosed by the seller either directly to the buyer or on property disclosure form. As this is a patent defect, there is no liability on behalf of the seller. So you got to learn the difference between latent defect and patent defect. Question number 15. Potential buyers believe they have been discriminated against because of their race. What option is available to the buyers under the Federal Fair Housing Act? Complain to the Office of Equal Opportunity HUD within 1 year. File a lawsuit within 2 years. File a complaint with the Federal Trade Commission. File a lawsuit within 2 years and complain to the Office of Equal. So we know that we want to complain to the Office of Equal Opportunity in HUD. Do we want to file a lawsuit too? I believe they have been discriminated. Available the best. I think we do both. File a lawsuit within 2 years and complain to the federal officers within 1 year. Perfect. Correct. Under the Federal Fair Housing Act, victims have the right either to file a complaint with the Office of Equal Housing, HUD, within 1 year of the incident, or to file a lawsuit within the courts. Sorry, I wanted to see if I was blocking. Within 2 years of the incident, the Federal Trade Commission handles complaints under the Sherman Antitrust Act. Question 16. When showing a listing, a sales agent is asked about the condition of the basement. Without having seen the basement, the agent states that, to the best of his knowledge, the basement is dry and free of dampness. In fact, the basement leaks steadily whenever there is rain. The agent most likely has committed no error. This is protecting the homeowner's interest. Misrepresentation, fraud, intentional misrepresentation. I want to say intentional misrepresentation if he knows that it leaks when it rains. Does it say he knows? We're going to see. Correct. Regular misrepresentation. So we knew it was misrepresentation. I don't know if intentional misrepresentation is even a thing or if it matters. It's just misrepresented. The agent has misrepresented the condition of the property and therefore is negligent. Fraud is an intentional misrepresentation. While the sales agent did not intentionally misrepresent the condition of the basement, he should have exercised reasonable care and viewed the basement before making any statements concerning his condition. Okay. He did not intentionally misrepresent it. He should have viewed it and then figured it out before saying anything. Got it. Question number 17. Under the Federal Fair Housing Act of 1968, it is permissible to, let's read what the Federal Fair Housing Act is. An act contained in Title 8 of the Civil Rights Act of 1968 that created protected classes of people and prohibits discrimination when selling or renting residential property when based on race, color, religion, sex, and national origin, familial status, or handicap status. So, under 1960, it is permissible to alter the terms of a loan alter the terms of a loan for a member of a minority, tell an individual that an apartment has been rented when it in fact has been not, refuse to give a loan to an individual because they have a poor credit history, advertise property for sale only to a special group. So what is permissible? What are you allowed to do? Alter the terms of a loan for a member of a minority. Tell an individual that apartment has been rented when in fact has been not. Refuse to give a loan to an individual because they have poor credit score history. I think it's this one. Yes, correct. Refusing to give a loan to an individual because they have a poor credit history is not a violation. Credit history is not a protected class under the Federal Fair Housing Act. The other options are expressly disallowed by the Federal Fair Housing Act. All right. Question 18. Which of the following is not grounds for revocation or suspension of a license? Violation of the Code of Ethics, violation of the Federal Fair Housing Act, violation of the canons of ethics, violations of the Civil Rights Act of 1866. I'm going to go with a violation of the canons of ethics. I think if you violate these Civil Rights Acts and these Federal Fair Housing Acts, that should be suspension of a license. I mean, ethics should be too, but we got to figure out what canons of ethics are. Incorrect. Okay, so it's the Code of Ethics. The Code of Ethics is a set of voluntary rules of conduct established by the National Association of Realtors, NAR. The Federal Fair Housing Act and Civil Rights Act are both federal statutes, and the canon of ethics lists the ethics law of individual states. Okay, so the Code of Ethics is voluntary. The canon is statewide, federal, civil rights, federal. Okay. Question 19. Who's responsible for determining whether or not a property is located in an official mapped neutral hazard zone? Who is responsible for determining whether or not a property is located in an officially mapped neutral hazard zone? Seller and seller's agent, public official, buyer, buyer's agent. I want to say public official. Incorrect. Okay, the seller and the seller's agent are responsible. The seller and listing agent are responsible for determining if a property is an officially mapped natural hazard zone. Okay. All right, the final question, question 20. Again, if you want to follow along with us, study with us, I have a link, an affiliate link down below to Colibri. This is the exam prep system that I am using right now. You got test questions, quizzes, full tests, vocab words, concepts, everything. You can also take your 3 pre-licensing course with Colibri. Click the link below, get it started, study with me. We're going to pass this test. All right, sorry. Question 20. You are showing a potential renter an apartment. The renter lets you know that they are currently in a drug rehab therapy for cocaine addiction. You should let the renter know that you'll be charging them more rent than any other tenant. Show the renter property closer to their drug rehab clinic. Not discriminate against the renter as they are protected class. Immediately ask the potential renter to leave and call the police. I would say not discriminate. I don't know if it's a protected class. But I don't think you should discriminate against anyone. Correct. A person who is undergoing drug rehab therapy is considered a disabled person under the Federal Fair Housing Act and the Americans with Disabilities Act. By charging the renter more rent or refusing to rent the property to them, you will be guilty of discrimination. All right, let's see how we did. I got 11 correct and I missed 9. Okay, so we got to study some more, guys. Subscribe to the channel. We have plenty more test question videos coming, vocab coming, concepts coming, everything's coming. What I'm going to do off the video is look at all the ones I missed, and I am going to write these down on a piece of paper. A good study technique is to say it out loud as I've done, write it down on a piece of paper. You could type it too, but it's better to write it down, and then hopefully your memory will be able to memorize all this stuff before you take your test. All right, back in the classroom. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe. We have way more videos coming of test questions, vocab words, concepts, everything that you need to know and to study with me to pass the real estate exam. I haven't even taken the exam yet. I am studying with you guys. Follow me and subscribe to me. And let's go on this journey together.